What's up, people? It's your boy Max, the WrestleManiac, if you will. I'm back again with another podcast. Happy New Year. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone is feeling the vibes of the new year and, looking forward to what 2025 has in store. Today, we are talking AEW Dynamite, AEW Fight for the Fallen. Their show actually fell on New Year's Day, Wednesday, the 1st of January. So we are going to talk everything coming out of that show. So be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well if you're new here. And of course, you can catch all of these podcasts in the audio world. Your Googles, Apple Podcasts, Spotify's, hit up, you'll find the WrestleManiac UK show. Let's get down to AEW Dynamite, man. Their first show, doing their simulcast thing, the mother of all simulcasts, like they will call it. They're on HBO Max now, which is a massive thing. So well done to AEW securing that deal. And I would imagine it being in more homes now as well, through the simulcast. So yeah, that's a really good look for them as well. They decided to kind of christen this new move on the streaming platform with a crazy angle, an absolutely crazy angle, where we saw Ricochet attack Swerve Strickland with a golden pair of scissors, a massive golden pair of scissors. So just to kind of lay the foundations of this entire, I guess, story and where we are with that. This was a triple threat match. I think the winner got entry to the Casino Gauntlet match that is happening next week on Dynamite. We see Jay White, Swerve Strickland, and Roderick Strong. These are the three men in this triple threat for this place in the Gauntlet match. Then the match is going on. Like, good match so far. We haven't kind of got into the final third of the match, if you like. But yeah, it's just been a good match so far. And we see Swerve do a spot where he walks the barricade, gives Jay White a kick in the face, jumps off the barricade. He's kind of taunting and celebrating with the crowd, taking in the crowd's adulation. And all of a sudden, Ricochet comes out of the crowd and he grabs Swerve, I think, round the neck, and he absolutely blasts him in the head with a pair of scissors, like massive golden pair of scissors. And I'm even thinking the fact that the scissors are gold, is that gonna have any bearing on anything? Like, of all choice, like, why were they gold, sort of thing? You don't see a gold pair of scissors every day. So yeah, it was very interesting to me. Is that like a red herring or something? Absolutely blasts him in the head and then just watches him as his body quivers on the ground. The shot remains on on Ricochet, but I'm sure this is probably where Swerve Strickland is helping, sell that moment, doing a blade job and all that kind of stuff. The match goes on. And because I guess Swerve has effectively been taken out of the match, it's just down to Jay White and Roderick Strong. Jay White gets the win. Jay White progresses to the Casino Gauntlet match. At this point, Roderick Strong has left the ring as well, right? Ricochet comes over the barrier and, continues just beating down Swerve, punches lefts and rights. He takes off his blazer. He's dressed quite, in a dapper fashion for this. Takes off the blazer. Again, blood out everywhere. He's headbutting Swerve Strickland on where the open wound is, and blood everywhere. Like, blood everywhere. I think he rolls Swerve Strickland into the ring at this point, and he goes to get a chair, gets a steel chair. As he's trying to get into the ring with a steel chair, you see Prince Nana come up to him and tries to kind of stop it, gets in his way. He knocks over Prince Nana, throws him into the steel steps, and then uses the steel chair on Prince Nana. He then gets into the ring, puts the steel chair out, sits on it, and just looks over Swerve's body. As Swerve begins to get up, Ricochet gets up from the chair, closes the chair, starts attacking him and stuff like that. a very delayed reaction from the Undisputed Kingdom. They all come out to make the save for Swerve. So I'm not even really sure what that entails and why they are kind of helping out Swerve sort of thing, but they came to make the save. And Ricochet jumps out the ring. He's like leaning on the commentary desk, laughing maniacally, like a crazed man. Like, it was a really good image of everything he done, what he done in the ring, and then him kind of closing that segment off with just laughing crazily. Like, got his glasses on, got his shirt that's covered in blood, blood on his head, blood on his hands, like mental. Absolutely mental. And for me, this was the biggest angle, the biggest thing that happened in the show. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought this was great. I said on the World's End review that I done last week or so that Ricochet, you know, we've seen in the weeks building up to World's End, Ricochet had been disrespected by the Hurt Syndicate, disrespected by Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland at the World's End pay-per-view mocked him for not winning it and for not progressing to the final. He further mocked him by sending Nana out with toilet paper and, you know, getting the crowd to basically dress Ricochet in toilet paper. And I said at that point, that is rock bottom. That is Ricochet hitting rock bottom. He's been this kind of geeky, dorky heel where, you know, he's a bit of the laughing stock and a bit of the victim, and we're making fun of him. And I said that has to be the toilet paper thing, has to be rock bottom. You have been utterly humiliated at this point. And he had nothing to say at the time. So I expected the reaction. I definitely expected a reaction from Ricochet. But for this to be the reaction, I didn't see coming. I did not see it coming. I thought that, you know, we might get something else to some degree, a match between the two and Ricochet cheats to win or something like that. This was emphatic. He made Swerve Strickland draw blood. And if not for anything, this is straight out of the book of Swerve Strickland. This is something Swerve would do in terms of laying this kind of attack on somebody. We saw what Swerve's capable of. Walking into a man's house with a man's gym, with a knife and, you know, bloody and a guy in the ring. Going into a man's house and, you know, talking crap to his baby, all of that kind of stuff. We know what Swerve's on. The stuff he's done in the Hangman feud, you know, like this was straight out of the school of Swerve Strickland. And it was great because now it's like, right, even if Ricochet is going to continue to be a bit of this dorky character that we can't really take seriously, we now know we can take him seriously. Like if you push that button, and maybe this is him maybe evolving out of the quote unquote Ricochet character, and this is him. I don't know if he's ever going to use Trevor on TV, but this could be his like serial killer Trevor Man gimmick or something like that. I don't know. But I really do think that this is completely new to the Ricochet we have known all this time. This is completely different. And yeah, I thought this was such an impactful statement. And I've said since, you know, Swerve got involved with the Hurt Business stuff as well with Ricochet, I've said like they are working hard here to get Ricochet over. They're all chipping in, they're all helping. And it's like the good grace that Swerve has built up and that AEW helped Swerve build up and become legitimate through some of the crazy stuff Swerve was doing. It's like they're here, bundled it up, and they're passing it on to Ricochet. And Swerve is happy to play victim now to help get Ricochet over. Great stuff. Great angle. This is probably away from in-ring talent, which we know Ricochet has in absolute spades. This might be the most interesting thing he has ever done in his career. Definitely the most violent. Definitely the most violent. But this might be the most interesting thing Ricochet has ever done. And I have watched a lot of Ricochet. Like, yeah, from Dragon Gate, I've seen Ricochet stuff, junior heavyweight title runs. Like, I've watched a lot of Ricochet. Absolutely brilliant in ring. We all know this, but as a character and developing a character, this is probably quite easily through his NXT, WWE run, and his early AEW run, places where he needs character, needs a lot of it. This is easily the one single best thing he's ever done. Got a lot of attention, got a lot of people talking, and I really hope he kicks on from here. I'm still of the belief that Ricochet will join Hurt Business, Hurt Syndicate. Sorry, I'm still of the belief he will join the Hurt Syndicate, and when we circle back round to Swerve versus Bobby Lashley, whenever that's gonna happen, I think that Ricochet might be a deciding factor in Swerve losing that. And then maybe we get a Swerve Ricochet feud. I don't know. But yeah, I think he's proven at this point he can hurt somebody. And that's what the Hurt Business, the Hurt Syndicate want. That they want someone that can get their hands dirty. And boy, did he get his hands dirty. So I think that this was a really, really strong angle to, right. He's hit rock bottom, like I said, with all the disrespect and embarrassments from the Hurt Syndicate, Swerve Strickland. The disrespect stops here. Scissors to the head, blood everywhere, laughing maniacally, like, he meant everything and he loves what he's just done. He's happy with what he's just done. He's happy with his work. Really good stuff. This is really good stuff. And of course, there's still the added factor of Samantha Irvin, who again we spoke about on the World's End pay-per-view review. And Samantha Irvin has recently sent out a tweet that she heard the fans calling her, that they want Samantha. I think over those Hammerstein Ballroom events that AEW had, there was a lot of chanting for Samantha. We want Samantha. And she's now tweeted saying that, I heard you guys. I think there was a report that Samantha was backstage during maybe this Dynamite that happened, which is neither here or there. That's a man's fiance. You see what I mean? So if she wanted to kind of come with him to work, like, why wouldn't she be there? You see what I mean? But like I have said, I think Samantha should be in on this act. I think they could be, and again, I'll make the comparison. Don't get me wrong here. Just look at the vision. Like Miz and Maurice, like Ricochet and Samantha could be like Miz and Maurice together. We know that Ricochet has buckets of talent more than Miz. But as for the being that kind of nasty, swami couple that no one likes, like, I just think that the pair of them together on screen could be so good. I think she can do a lot for the act. And Ricochet could do with the help of maybe the talking stuff with Samantha, or if he goes into the Hurt Syndicate, the talking stuff can be done by MVP. Man, I really do think that this act has legs. So I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoyed that angle, and I want to see more. I want to see what's next. I want to see how Swerve bites back, because Swerve's not a dummy. Like, Swerve has got his own issues and how he handles business, if you like. So yeah, this could get pretty violent very quickly. I mean, it has already. It started on that note. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if we can take this to the next level now, and how far we're willing to take it. This was good. This was really good. Like I said, probably the top angle from the whole show. But we'll go through the show. I enjoyed Dynamite. It didn't feel, if this was supposed to be, which I don't know if they said it or not, like this is a new era, this is a new start or anything like that. I did feel like if that is the case, there was some fundamentally wrong stuff. However, at the same time, I like the fact that this show was pretty much a run-of-the-mill Dynamite show, in the sense that being new on a platform and doing the most, like how WWE are planning to do the most on the 6th of January, people might start thinking that's the norm. Like the 6th of January on Netflix, the level of whatever that show is going to be, people might think that's the norm. And the fact that Dynamite, maybe, yeah, they could have put in a bit more effort for their first ever show on Max, but I feel like, well, at least they're not kind of setting people up for failure. You see what I mean? This is it. This is the product sort of thing. But yeah, I think there was some things that concerned me on this show, which we're gonna get to, we're gonna talk about. But like I said, this was AEW Dynamite. Fight for the Fallen from Asheville, North Carolina. I believe all like proceeds and stuff from the show, charity was kind of done. Money was raised for the victims of North Carolina. They've had like a natural disaster and stuff over there. So yeah, this was kind of in support of the people of North Carolina. And the show opened up with a couple of promos. John Moxley cut a promo, as well as Adam Copeland and FTR, who I guess Adam Copeland was Adam Copeland at this point, but then later on changed his name during the show, which we'll get to, we'll talk about. But yeah, the show opened up with a couple of like pre-filmed vignettes from these guys before we got into Orange Cassidy versus Hangman Adam Page. Really decent match between these two, which you probably knew it would be. Orange Cassidy hit 3 Superman punches, and like literally Hangman just shook it off, hit a box shot lariat and won. So it's not really looking good for Orange Cassidy, not really looking good for his moveset, or his finisher, should I say. And yeah, Hangman just got the win, was trying to get out of there when all of a sudden Christopher Daniels came in, and Christopher Daniels was trying to kind of get Hangman back on side and kind of, you're a good guy, remember that, and all this kind of stuff. So Christopher Daniels came in to make the save when Hangman was beating up Orange Cassidy post-match. Yeah, Christopher Daniels being on the show, I don't know how well, I'll be honest, I'm not very interested in Christopher Daniels. I don't know if now Christopher Daniels is no longer an EVP. Is his role to wrestle again? Is he just going to play a role of some official for AEW and try to get Hangman back on side? It feels like sooner or later him and Hangman are going to have to wrestle. But yeah, maybe Christopher Daniels is going to use maybe Kenny Omega to try and patch back the Elite to take on the Death Riders. We could be looking at something like that. I don't really... If Christopher Daniels is just going to be in that role to kind of facilitate all of these guys back together, then fairs. But I don't need a Hangman Christopher Daniels match. So we'll see the extent of his involvement here. I think this show had one too many people trying to get back into the mix, if you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think we'll have to just watch where this plays out. And Hangman's direction in general, I think Hangman is always going to be beloved and stuff like that. He's got that kind of characteristic about him. But unless, like I'm saying, this Christopher Daniels stuff can help to lead to something, his direction right now isn't really clear. Like, a lot of people have said that Hangman should be here beating Moxley for the world title, which I wouldn't mind at all. He's a better candidate for me than like a Darby Allin. But I just feel like if he's not in the world title picture, what is Hangman going to be doing right now? Hangman MJF maybe, because even MJF, he hasn't got much on right now, really. MJF had a promo on this show saying that he wants to circle his way back to the world title, and it's going to be like the Devil Part 2. And I guess that could be something Hangman does in the meantime. But yeah, Hangman's direction. It'll be kind of good to hear from you guys what you think Hangman should be doing right about now and what direction he's going in on the show, because for me, it's not clear. I can't see whatever his path is right now. We had an acclaimed Hurt Syndicate match as well. So we had an acclaimed backstage promo where you saw Max Caster was kind of being asked by Bowens, you know, why did you accidentally kick me in the face? I think it was on their match that they had on Rampage and stuff like that. And Caster was like rightly asking him, why are you asking now? We've had the last 5 days where you could have asked me this. But wrestling logic, I guess. These guys had a match and against the Hurt Syndicate, and I just love the Hurt Syndicate's entrance music, man. I just think it's brilliant. I honestly think it's so good. And they just walk out like mafioso, like assassins, like it's just so cool. They come into the ring. This match doesn't even last 5 minutes. I think just under 5 minutes. Bowens and Caster get into an argument during this match, which leaves Bowens to tag in Caster and effectively feed him to the wolves. Bowen walks out the ring. Bowen has and wants no part of this at all. And yeah, Caster gets pinned by Bobby Lashley. Or sorry, I think he tapped out to the Hurt Lock. And yeah, done. Absolutely done. And it looks like we're still on the verge of this split between the Acclaimed. And just to talk about this quickly, yeah, a lot of people seemingly want the split and think that Bowens deserves like a singles run, a big babyface singles run. I don't mind the Acclaimed splitting, but I'm not sure they will survive as single stars in AEW. Like, there are people more quote unquote deserving than the Acclaimed, Bowens and Caster, that aren't on TV. So I don't know how they are going to get on as single stars. They were big as a tag team, and I think more so the tag team act just needs refreshing. Like, they can go through this little argument and stuff and tiff, because everyone goes through tiffs with their friends and their partners, their tag team partners, whatever. But then they should maybe keep the gimmick, tweak the gimmick, and go again. I don't think they should separate. I don't think it's a smart move. And on top of that, where I think Bowens is probably more interesting in ring, would be the more interesting singles in ring person in that respect. I actually think, and this might be controversial, that Caster is more of a TV star. Like, he can garner heat, he can wrestle. He's not like horrible in the ring or anything like that. I just think he will be like more of what people just like, oh, this guy's so frustrating. He'll get more people talking and stuff like that. I think that Bowens, might find it a bit hard to stay on TV if they were to split the two of them. Like, I think they'll both find it hard, but I think that Max Caster actually has the better shot of making it, if that makes sense. I think keep them together, but run the storyline, let them go through a bit of a tumultuous time, and then keep them together. Separating them, I don't think it's the right move for either of them. And if you do go ahead and separate them, I'll probably hedge my bets on Max Caster being the success of the two. But we have to see. We have to wait and see where it's going to. But I think it's an interesting situation with the Acclaimed. Done so well as a tag team, better than a lot of people thought the gimmick would have ever went. But now I don't know if you really want to do this in such a crowded mid card, so crowded, yeah, we'll see what they go along with and stuff. Um, we also had Jamie Hayter versus Julia Hart on this card. This is or was ultimately the big payoff from Julia Hart haunting Jamie Hayter. Um, Julia Hart, former TBS champion, and Jamie Hayter, who was the former women's world champion. Why was Julia Hart's rollout back to TV like more impressive than Jamie Hayter's? Like Jamie Hayter didn't get any vignette. She just showed up at the pay-per-view, albeit the 0 hour of the pay-per-view. So it's like, for me, I remember I was there in Wembley, and Jamie Hayter, her music hit and came down, and I love her music. So I'm here dancing along and stuff. But I'm thinking, why are they bringing back the former women's world champion on the pre-show? Yes, there was a whole angle there with Saraya, which I don't know why they couldn't have just cut that during the show. Well, I just don't know why they didn't do the angle during the show. But there's a whole women's, and she was the champion when she had to vacate it, or lost it. Sorry, she lost the title because of injury. I just don't understand why we are kind of seemingly, and it's all about perception here, seemingly rating Jamie Hayter over the likes of a Julia Hart. And I like Julia Hart. I really think she's come along a long way, changed up her gimmick. Like, her presentation is immaculate, getting better in ring. But like, she was only the TBS champion, but she's getting the rollout like she was the former women's champion and coming down and beating the former women's champion. It's just all a bit strange to me. I don't think Jamie Hayter has done anything of note, anything special at all since she's returned in August. And now that they just kind of, albeit with some missed finish, they've just kind of fed her to Julia Hart. I'm concerned. I like the fact. Okay, my concern stems from, you brought Britt Baker back to TV, and now she's not on TV anymore. You brought Jamie Hayter back, and you've just fed her to Julia Hart. Did these two do something wrong? Like, did these two do something against Tony Khan, and this is like a punishment or something? Because it's weird. Like, I know a lot of people will have stuff to say about Britt Baker, how she is backstage, what she's capable of in ring, but Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter were like absolutely massive acts for this company. And now one can't make it on TV and the other one's losing on TV. It's very weird. It's very weird. Like I say, Julia Hart won her match here against Jamie Hayter, got the win, and I'm just thinking, like, okay, you're coming back from injury now, and yeah, you can't, you shouldn't lose your first match back and stuff. And Jamie Hayter didn't lose her first match back, but pitting these two against each other, and then one of them has to win, albeit with missed or whatever. I don't know. It's not a decision I would have made. And I don't think it necessarily helps the division, because it may not be right now, granted, but eventually people are going to want to see a Mercedes Moné versus the likes of a Jamie Hayter. That's a big match. But you're not really framing it as that when Jamie Hayter is just kind of losing out here in a bit of a nothing match, We shall see. We shall see what they go with next and where this feud goes to. But yeah, I don't think the match was anything particularly impressive. I was even more shocked when Hayter lost, but We'll see. We'll see. We had a couple video packages here and stuff like that. Stuff like Carl Fletcher and Will Ospreay and their relationship. A really good video package, as well as Kenny Omega, his return at World's End, and I think the Okada video package was in here as well. And it reminded me that, you know, the likes of a Kenny Omega came back at World's End. Why wasn't he on this show? Where was he? Like, where was Kenny Omega? Where was Okada? I mean, granted, it was in a vignette, but where was Okada? Where was Kenny Omega? Where was Will Ospreay? These are like your three biggest male single stars, and none of them were there on this debut on HBO Max or whatever. Granted, there was the world champion was there, but the world champion didn't show his title. Hangman Adam Page, there were names there, but you know, Okada and Ospreay just had a massive match, and none of them outside of the vignettes were there present on the show. And Kenny Omega just had a massive return. So yeah, I don't know if, you know, again, building the picture, showing the fans who the top guys are on this show and stuff. I don't know if this was exactly the best move not to have these guys here. I don't know when they're set to return. I think they said Will Ospreay's on next week's show. But yeah, Kenny Omega is like, it's not a one and done. You know, you're back now as an EVP, so we expect to be seeing you, I guess, even if it's not going to be in ring right now. And Okada, let's start, you know, let's not drop the ball on Okada. We put Okada through this tournament. He's won the tournament. He's the greatest tournament wrestler of all time. Let's not drop the ball on him and the Continental Classic belt, the Continental title. Let's start feeding him. Who's the next contender? Let's start preparing that. I think it's important to keep the momentum, because there's been a discussion about Okada. I think I've got a video coming out soon about Okada. There's been a discussion about him and how people are viewing him and stuff like that. He has been cold until, like I say, about November, December, where this tournament helped heat him up. It's let's keep him there, innit? let's keep him warmed up on the stove, doing some great work. So let's start logically, and the key word is logically, preparing the next challenger for the Continental title. That's what I'll say. At this point is where Mercedes Moné had a bit of a bland segment, I would say. She came out to brag about her success. She played a video package and stuff like that, talking about how she has a TBS title, the New Japan Strong title. Obviously, this also helped promote the Wrestle Dynasty show, which AEW are doing in collaboration with New Japan on the 5th of January. And she's going to take on Mina Shirakawa for the Rev Pro Women's title. Like, that was about it. I guess the shot at Mina was she had champagne and she drank champagne, but that was the segment. And I just thought, like, when she picked up the glass of champagne, or when she had finished talking, I thought, okay, here comes Mina, and we're going to get the Rev Pro belt on AEW, which I was really looking forward to seeing as a visual, as a Brit. Mina Shirakawa didn't come out. And the segment ended there, and her music started playing, and she just held the glass of champagne in the air. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, not the strongest segment. Maybe it's, you know, it's just there to promote the show, which I don't really think that AEW have done a good job of promoting their side of this show, but we'll see what the people have to say, sort of thing. But yeah, I just think like this was a bit flat. And question, yeah, where's Camille? Is Camille not going to get her pound of flesh? Like, is she just gone now? Has she just been vanquished? Because if not for anything, Camille could have came out and kind of said, oh, you know, or just started a ruckus in the ring, and eventually, maybe in a couple of weeks' time, Camille gets a TBS title shot. on TV. Nothing doesn't have to be anything special, but like, or is the Camille chapter closed just like that? Are we done with Camille and Mercedes, and we're not even going to get like a match out of it for the two of them? It feels very weird because even that angle, I mean, people know it happened, but that angle happened on what? Rampage? A show that doesn't even exist anymore? Not even a Collision. So to not do that angle on TV, and then I don't know, maybe I'm speaking too early. Oh, right now there hasn't been a payoff for an angle that happened the best part of, I want to say, what, 4 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago. It's just, I don't know. Like, is Camille just in the company now in catering, and she's never gonna kind of make it back to TV? I don't know how you've just broken up these two, and that's it. That's it. We're not gonna see them together anymore, or whatever. Right now, anyway, like I said. But it's been about 4-ish weeks. So I don't know. But I want to see, Wrestle Dynasty is going to be great on Sunday, 5th of Jan. I want Mercedes to pick up that Rev Pro Women's Championship selfishly because I want to see Mercedes Moné wrestle with that title in the UK, and I will be there. That's what I want to see. So yeah, selfishly for that reason, I want her to pick up the Women's Rev Pro title or something like that. What could be even more fun if the likes of Mina Shirakawa retained, and then like Mercedes chased her down at Rev Pro and they had the match, like a rematch at Rev Pro where she wins it in Rev Pro. That would be great. But yeah, looking forward to that match, and looking forward to Wrestle Dynasty and Wrestle Kingdom this weekend. Big weekend of wrestling. Moving on from this segment, we've got the well, let's touch on this. The Undisputed Kingdom. So this was just before the triple threat match that we talked about at the top of the show, Roderick Strong, Swerve Strickland, and Jay White. We had this backstage segment of the Undisputed Kingdom. Now, it was just Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly branded in his Undisputed Kingdom shirt. So again, now he's Undisputed Kingdom. I don't know the conglomeration contract. I don't know how he's got out of that. If he has got himself out of that, we haven't been told right now. But Adam Cole was doing like a usual spiel like we've seen before, like, oh, the boys are back in town, and we're gonna run roughshod, and we're gonna win all the titles, rare. And Kyle O'Reilly was kind of saying that he's here and we've got all the bases covered. We've got tag teams, we've got trios, we can do triple threats, we can do singles, blah, blah, blah. It was very corny. But I can't help but like these guys. I low-key love these guys together, sort of thing. But they have to turn heel. Because all this rah-rah speech stuff, can't buy it. All of them do their best work as heels, as bad guys. So they need to turn heel. And then we can get somewhere with these guys. Because it seems pretty cold. Even and I know it's Roderick Strong, but Roderick Strong's music hit to come out for the match. And it seemed pretty dead. There's no real elation from the crowd that these guys are back together. Because it's like, okay, you're back together, but it's like, what are you gonna do? 1, 2, we've seen you guys together. This isn't new to us, sort of thing. So I think the interesting wrinkle with this was that Bennett and Taven weren't there. And there's still those rumors and inklings that the likes of Matt Taven and Bennett might join MJF in some new faction or something. So we'll see what plays out with them, because they were inconspicuous as their absence. Like, it was a bit, where are these guys? But the guys that are still here are calling themselves now Undisputed Kingdom and stuff. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, you had the match, and then the wild angle after the match or during the match, which we talked about at the top of the show. So if you never heard that, you can kind of circle back to the top of this podcast. But yeah, we saw Jay White get the win with the Blade Runner and progress into that casino gauntlet, which is happening next week. Right, so hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here. We're gonna get into this is one of the real things that irked me on this show, right? Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, Jeff Jarrett has a big announcement, apparently. Now, this was from the pre-show, the 0 Hour of World's End. He said he's gonna have a big announcement. He's gonna do it on Dynamite. It was very obvious for me that he wasn't retiring, right? It was very obvious that that wasn't going to be the case, but that's what they were playing it up as. Is this a retirement angle? Is Jeff about to hang up his boots? He even came to the ring with his boots to do that kind of tradition of leaving your boots in the ring when you're done. Jeff Jarrett took up TV time to announce that he has re-signed with AEW. And he's re-signed in an in-ring capacity. Now, I've actually enjoyed Jeff Jarrett's work in ring in AEW, to be completely honest. Like, I feel like he's been fun at times, especially when I can't remember who was the champions, but he was going after the tag team titles with Jay Lethal. I've enjoyed his work in ring. Does Jeff Jarrett need to be wrestling in 2025? Hell no. He doesn't. Not at all. I'm not saying he's a bad wrestler. Like I said, I've enjoyed his work so far, but he don't need to be wrestling in 2025, right? That's one thing. Secondly, the more concerning thing for me, not only did he say he's after gold in AEW, which is just it's just part of the rah-rah speech, like I'm going to win gold this year, blah, blah, blah. That would have been fine. Capped it at that. Move on. He said he's going to AEW World Championship. And at first, I brushed it off and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, mate. You ain't winning that. Like, you're not winning that. You're not winning that. Is he winning that? Like, I started to question myself. I started to think, are they going to give him like a massive goodbye, like we saw with Danielson, like we may see with John Cena? Is this like a massive farewell tour for Jeff Jarrett, where somewhere along the line he actually wins the AEW World Championship? God, I hope not. I hope not. Like, and again, no disrespect to him. I understand who he is in the business. He told us who he was in the business and his lineage and what they've done in the business. And that is someone that AEW need to keep and have backstage and keep him backstage. Shouldn't be wrestling. 1. 2, shouldn't be going after no world title. And I hope it's just a case of maybe he gets a couple wins, gets a world championship match against whomsoever and loses, right? But if they put a title on Jeff Jarrett, I'm going to be somewhat concerned. And I think we should all be concerned, because putting the title on a Danielson is one thing, right? Danielson was still serving up in 2024 some of the best matches of his career. Putting the title on Jeff Jarrett in 2025, that smells like regression. Like, you guys, it's concerning. Now, I'll caveat all of that with, if Jeff Jarrett is going to win the AEW World Championship, there is one person and one person only that he should probably beat for it. And that's if this person even wins the World Championship. And for me, that's Christian Cage. If Christian Cage somehow cashes in his, what do you call it, flipboard, whatever he's holding in his hand, and becomes AEW World Champion, if you want a feel good moment, if you have to do it, then eventually Jeff Jarrett should beat Christian for the title. And that's it. And I only say that because of where both men are in their careers. Yeah. Probably both in the segment of you shouldn't be winning the world title. But that's it. That's who he should be beating and nobody else. I don't want to see Jeff Jarrett, if this is going to happen. I don't want to see Jeff Jarrett beating a Moxley, a Darby Allin, an MJF, a Hangman Adam Page, who he has recently been tussling with a bit. It's concerning. It's concerning. I just don't think, like, I know wrestlers always give these rah-rah speeches that they want to become world champions, they want to win gold, blah blah blah. I think if you left it at win gold, that would have been fine. It's like, okay, cool, whatever. That could be TNT title. Like, to come out and say world championship in a year where, like I say, we've just seen Danielson kind of hang up his boots, kind of. Cena might be here doing something similar. Like, is this AEW's version of that? Like, Jeff Jarrett, like I said, has been great in ring, but to come and win the AEW world title is concerning. Like, it's really concerning. And I see in the chat, my guy Doughboy says that he's with what JJ world title run. The thing is, like I said, I've enjoyed his in-ring work. I just think as for the company and where AEW are and how we are all perceiving them, this isn't a progressive move. Like, I think Moxley as champion now is almost meant to be the let's take a step back to go forward again sort of thing. This is just not a progressive move. And that's why I'm not into it. Not because I don't believe Jeff Jarrett can tell good stories or be a good wrestler with the world title. It's just not progressive for the company in 2025. 2025. I don't know. I'm not into it right now. Off the back of what I've seen and what I'm just generally seeing with AEW, I'm not into it. Like, I don't think Christian, I'm more into being a world champion, and he's cooled down a lot recently as well. And like I said, if we're going down this route, then that's the kind of person that I'll be, okay, if we have to make Jeff Jarrett champion, that's the route we take. But Jeff Jarrett shouldn't come and potentially beat any of the current younger stars on his way to picking that belt and carrying it above his head, if that's going to happen. We'll wait and see. Like I said, I've been a fan, surprisingly, because I was really down on Jeff Jarrett coming into AEW and stuff in the first place. I've been won around by his work and stuff like that. But yeah, I just think that this, not the world championship, something else. Go and touch gold somewhere else. Just not the world title, man. Like, I want to see what people are saying around that, because it's concerning. But to move from that into another champion that isn't getting a lot of joy right now, Mariah May, she cut a vignette about just like how great she is. Again, it's vignette we've probably seen a couple of times in the last month, just how great she is, and there's no division. But it's the same stuff. I kind of felt when I was watching this vignette with Mariah May, I felt like they've given up on her as an act, as women's champion, let me say, because she's even again pulled out the bag, surprised me somewhat in what she's brought to the table, especially in the Tony Storm feud. But we've kind of cut in this same promo in this vignette again. I just felt like, yeah, they don't know what they're doing with her. And whenever Tony Storm is ready to come back as time as Tony Storm or snap out of this episode she's going through or whatever, that's when Mariah May will wake back up and we can do that feud. And Mariah May probably drops the title next month, February, at the Australia show, maybe drops it back to Tony Storm or whatever. But right now, they've given up. They're out of ideas. They don't know what to do. And pretty much like we've been seeing, Mercedes has grown into this place where her title looks like the top title on the show, and Mariah May is playing second fiddle on the TV show, on the pay-per-view cards. That's what it now kind of clearly looks like, sort of thing. So yeah, it's a shame for Mariah May, because the story leading to her winning in August was really good, really strong. I called it the best ever women's story AEW have told, and it was, for my money. But where it's gone for her since then, yeah, in ring hasn't been a problem. It's just been the story and stuff that they've given her since. So yeah, we had a segment of, I think it was Christian and Hook backstage, but I'll be completely honest, it went over my head. I don't really know what was said here or anything like that, but I think they have a match coming up next week, maybe the week after next. Yeah, in 2 weeks' time, I think they've got a match at Maximum Carnage. Is that the TV special they're doing in 2 weeks? So I think Hook and Christian Cage have a match there. So yeah, we'll see what that's all about. Another creative misstep that I saw from this show was Powerhouse Hobbs taking on two jobbers. Powerhouse Hobbs wrestled a guy called Rob Killjoy and John Cruz, who I think is Serpentico without a mask. I think. But yeah, Powerhouse Hobbs lost, obviously, his match to Takeshita for the International Championship. He's now back on Dynamite. He wrestled this 2-on-1 handicap match, John Cruz and Mr. Killjoy against Powerhouse Hobbs. He beat them in less than 2 minutes. Squash match, you could see it coming from a mile away. And he's now in the Casino Gauntlet. First thing, yeah. What is Powerhouse Hobbs doing squash matches for? To get into a tournament, to get into a match for, number one contendership. What kind of lazy nonsense is this? Powerhouse Hobbs was doing squash matches on AEW Dark 5 years ago. 5 years ago, and you've got man doing it again. And look, I know you can lean on squash matches here and there, right? But to use a squash match as what? Qualification to a gauntlet match for a number one contendership for the world title. It's lazy. It's just easy to do. You may have well just put him in there without anything, without any match or anything. Because it's just, I don't know, man. I just think it's like it was a bit cold going into World's End, the match with Takeshita, but I thought they had a decent match for what it was. And now he's done the bare minimum. He's effectively just turned up to work and been put in a match for a number one contendership, because this squash match is just meaningless. And he's not gonna win that either. He's not winning the Casino Gauntlet. So, if I'm Hobbs asking TK, what is my direction over the next year? What is the plan for me? Because you can't shut me up with a one title match on a pay-per-view, and I'm now gonna have to sit quietly, you know, reverting to stuff I was doing 5 years ago on a show that no longer exists. I've grown so much since then, you know. It's crazy. Delway says it here in the chat, could easily put Hobbs against Incredible and have him win. Yeah, yeah, exactly that. Like, it's very mad that the choice here is it's definitely a choice. It's definitely a choice. Like, I just think it's a bit lazy, and yeah. We had a backstage segment of the learning tree. They came face to face with rated FTR. Long story short is they're gonna have a match on Collision, a trios match. And yeah, Chris Jericho wasn't present, but yeah, there were some funny lines between Adam Copeland and what's his face, Big Bill. And then yeah, following this was MJF. He cut his that backstage vignette from after World's End, where he basically said that, you know, Adam Cole had to get people to beat him up and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, he got his promo about how he wants his world title back. He doesn't care about Moxley and stuff like that. The Devil is going to get his due. Devil round 2, etc., etc. I don't think MJF and Moxley will come face to face at all for this championship. I think it was earlier, or last few days, Ibu from Wrestle Purists had said that it looks like MJF and AEW are coming to the end of like their relationship, in terms of maybe they've both done the most of what they could do with each other, which is an interesting take. I don't necessarily think that, like, agree with it and say that, yeah, MJF should leave and move on or anything like that. But I do think that we are maybe beginning to run out of stories for MJF. And in my opinion, I actually think this may be more of an MJF problem than an AEW problem. Does MJF have another gear? Is he allowed to show another gear? Does MJF have anything else to offer rather than the kind of jibes and stuff we've seen from him already? When we've seen a little baby face turn, even when he was still a bit of a twat with the turn he made and was a baby face, you know, he was still a bit of a jerk. But does he have other facets to him that AEW can play off and write stories for him? Because if he doesn't, then I think that statement that Ibu made, that, you know, is coming to a natural conclusion in terms of what AEW can do with MJF, might be very true. If he doesn't have anything else to kind of go off, and I think he's an amazing talent, like, especially for his age, I think MJF is so clear. But if the crowd have grown tired of him and bored of it and stuff like that, and he doesn't have anything else to offer, then that might be concerning. But yeah, I don't think Moxley and MJF are going to cross paths for the world title. MJF probably gets back into the scene maybe once Moxley's dropped it and to Darby or someone, and MJF might take it off Darby or something like that. That's, I think, a lot more likely. And then we have the main event. The main event was the Death Riders, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli, and the AEW World Champion Moxley going up against FTR, Cash and Dax, and Cope. Rated R Cope, because he's changed his name. We thought these were WWE problems. We thought these were WWE problems. We thought they were Vince McMahon problems. Why did a man change his name to Rated R Cope? It sounds like a very kind of and I can say this because I am one, a dad thing to do. Like you think you're being young and hip and cool, and you change your name to Cope. That'll get me down with the kids. Don't call me Adam Copeland, call me Cope. And I've heard every Cope pun under the sun today, so I'm not gonna make any. But what was wrong with Adam Copeland? Or call him, or like I say in the chat, yeah, they said in the chat, Copeland would have been better. Like, what was wrong with Adam Copeland? Because we all know he's Edge, and we all know he can't use Edge. Rated R superstar, you've already kind of probably trademarked that, and you're using that. Adam Copeland. Like, I liked when they played on Cope and were like doing the Cope Open with the TNT title. Keep Cope around, but we don't have to call man Cope. Granted, when he probably turned up in the 90s to WWE and they called him Edge, everyone was probably having this exact same conversation. Like, why the hell are you calling yourself Edge? What the hell does that mean? But it grew on us, and we just knew the man as Edge. So maybe we've got time for it to grow on us, and we'll just know him as Cope. We'll see. But yeah, they had this 6-man tag match, and it was a pretty good match. Pretty good main event to close the show. As much as I am kind of disinterested in Adam Copeland at his age and doing all of this stuff, coming back into AEW and stuff, is the one thing I can't fault him for. He in ring, he tends to give his all, and does always find himself involved in some really good matches. This match went on, it was just less than 20 minutes, and we saw Wheeler Yuta, who is obviously there to be pinned. He got hit with a shatter machine from FTR, and then a spear from Cope. They get the win, and they stand tall and all of that stuff, and it's a feel-good feeling because them man FTR are the North Carolina boys. Like I said at the top of this, Fight for the Fallen was for the natural disaster that happened in North Carolina. So yeah, feel-good feeling, and I think, yeah, there was still some parts during the show where they handed out like support checks to, I guess, different charities and stuff that's been helping in the area, which is amazing. So yeah, big up them. They got this moment. They've pinned, the team, the faction that hold the trios titles at this point. On Collision on Saturday, they're going to take on the Learning Tree. Probably going to pin them too. So I expect rated FTR to eventually get a trios title match from the Death Riders, and probably to win it and use those belts on TV a bit more. Be something new for FTR to do, because FTR haven't won the trios titles, and either it has Adam Cope from his time in AEW. None of them have won this. So, and yeah, these belts have literally been out of sight. At least Moxley, with his out of sight world titles, been defending the title. These guys haven't defended the trios titles, I don't think, since this Death Riders gimmick really began. So yeah, it'll be good if we can get it onto rated FTR and start doing some cool trio stuff back in AEW again, away from the Death Riders, because Death Riders don't need those belts at all. So yeah, that was AEW Dynamite Fight for the Fallen. All in all, I felt like it was a good show. It was fun at parts. I'm concerned with the Jeff Jarrett direction. I'm concerned with the Will Hobbs direction. I'm also concerned with Jamie Hayter and what they're doing with her. But granted, I feel like for the most part, it was a good show to start the new year. Nothing massive apart from the Ricochet angle, which, like I said, great. Like, I am so behind Ricochet becoming something just so far away from Ricochet as we know him, sort of thing. So I can't wait to see how that evolves. And either way of how it's going to evolve, it's not going to be easy because Swerve is a madman, and he's probably just woken up something in Swerve. So it's definitely going to be super interesting to see the direction of where they can take it. I'm sure Hurt Syndicate are going to be waiting in tow to kind of pick a side. Like the next person that joins Hurt Syndicate can pretty much come from this feud between Ricochet and Swerve. I think it's going to be Ricochet. I think the door is still ajar for it to be Swerve, or for Swerve to use these men as like contract killers, like assassins, when he needs extra hands, sort of thing, rather than Swerve being in a faction or leading a faction, whatever the case may be. He might just use these guys as his contracts, you know, as killers to deal with business, sort of thing. So whoever is that next man to join the Hurt Syndicate, I definitely think comes from that Swerve and Ricochet feud. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to it. I think there's some great potential here. But yeah, the AEW's year is off to a decent start. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know below in the comments, or message me on X, WrestleManiac UK, on your thoughts on AEW Dynamite. We'll keep these reviews rolling, and we'll talk about it next week as well, and where we've got to next week with the show as well. But I appreciate everyone that tuned in live for the show, and everyone that's going to listen back. Of course, you can listen back on your podcast platforms, your Spotify's, Apple Music's, Google Podcasts as well. And hit the like button on your way out the stream, and subscribe if you are new to the channel. WrestleManiac UK signing out, and I'll see you soon.